the town where the jazz is swinging high. It's the New Orleans Outsider with Chris Goff, my oh my. We may be outsiders, but our love for New Orleans is true. So come along as I share it all with you. Sights and sounds, food and drinks. We're here to take a ride with New Orleans Outsider as our guide.
And here are your hosts, Chris Goff, Peter Newkirch, and Justin Appleberry.
Well, today we come back with another one of the crown jewels of the French Quarter, crown jewels of pretty much American cuisine. Today on NOLA Outsider, we're talking about Antoine's. Welcome in. I am Chris, along with Peter. And Peter, we've talked about Antoine's a lot, and we sort of were stutter-stepping on whether or not we wanted to do Antoine's because, frankly, we have sort of a tale of two Antoine's, really, or at least I do. The way I've seen Antoine's is when I first got to New Orleans, it was one of the greatest meals and just experiences I ever had in my life, not just New Orleans. And then post-COVID, it's been a little different. And so, I don't want to disparage anything about Antoine's ever because, this is one of the most remarkable family-run continuous since 1840 restaurants that, what can you say about it? It's hard enough to have a restaurant last a year, let alone 180. So, but I don't know. When was the first time you darkened the doorsteps of Antoine's?
For lunch. That was, I don't know how it has to be more than 10 years ago.
12, 13, 14, something like that. Yeah.
And it is an absolutely gorgeous restaurant. Still is. It's old, but you don't know it's 180 plus years old. Just crazy. I know it moved, locations at some point very early on. Yeah. But to have been in that location, I think almost 170 years is just insane. You would just have no idea that restaurant is that old.
No, it's amazing. Everything in the French Quarter just has a historical accent to it. But Antoine's with the huge windows in front, the huge sort of the canvas with their name written all over it in front has just become I don't know. It was one of the I even before Commander's Palace or of course, then going on to GW Finn's and Restaurant Revolution, all these other great restaurants we went to. My first experience was, I believe, it was with you and others. We go there for the first time, and again, our number one fan, Travis, him and Sarah, you and your wife, mine and mine. We go to Antoine's for the first time. Not really, it hadn't been my very first trip, and this is like, hey, we want to take you to this place, and again. You get jaded when you get to do so many cool things so often. You sort of forget your first feeling of doing something for the very first time. And so, maybe you in the culinary world and your background have been around this more than I had at that point. But even it was some of the former jobs I've had and was able to go around, the United States at really nice places. I had never had the experience that I had at Antoine's. And again, this was, like you said, 2012, 13, right around there. It's funny. It's not funny, but it's ironic that now the Katrina documentary is out on Netflix and people are talking about it big time. My wife is in the middle of watching it, and it's almost one of those things I hate watching the reality of it because even though I had nothing to do with it personally, I just it's such a dividing moment, obviously, in New Orleans history and just a tragedy for many reasons. But so it felt like when we got to Antoine's, a mere 7 or 8 years later, they were still much like the city. They're still, you could still tell that there was remnants of that horrible disaster. Whether it's just the way people talked about it or
their building was damaged.
Yeah.
I know that. And I'm glad they did the documentary, and that's coming out obviously for the anniversary. But I think it's a chance to remind a lot of people that the city is still, it's still in the process of recovering all these years later. And then, of course, as things were starting to move, like everyone else, COVID hit and set everybody back again.
Yeah, that's sort of what it was. Is like the second wave is COVID. Really, is Katrina, and this is just obviously they've had disasters before Katrina. Maybe not to that level, but they're always in the path of some kind of tropical storm. It seems every year, but that was obviously a huge one. And then as we are there in 12 or 13, yeah, years before COVID. I mean, just at that point, they had rebounded well, but still, everyone's still talking about Katrina because even though 7 or 8 years after something that disastrous isn't that long of a time, really. And so that was at this was a lunch. I don't think I've ever eaten Antoine's anything other than lunch at this point. Have you?
No,
Yeah.
it's one of those. It is now one of those. I would go back for the brunch. That would be my next choice. Their lunch and dinner, they're not quite as wildly different as you might expect.
Yeah.
But the brunch, beautiful menu.
And let's take it back in time for anyone that hasn't been there before. If you went to Antoine's in 2000, let's say 13, you would have their lunch special was something that was awesome. Now, obviously, because of COVID, because of rising costs of everything, it has changed. And so, sort of it's sad the way obviously change happens everywhere. But when you go there, you got a 3-course meal for whatever the year was. So if it's 2013, it was $20.13 for one person to have a modified, smaller, but still awesome 3-course meal. I mean, where else are you going to get that anywhere else? So, and it was, at the time, I remember, Peter, I was like blown away by your choices of appetizer, main dish, and then dessert. They still had the, it wasn't quite like Commander's where you get the 25-cent martini, but it was like rum punch, or you could do the mimosa thing for, one price. You basically got unlimited for that. And, that was a hell of a deal. I mean, it still is today, but just even back then, just the quality of everything and your choices, 10 years ago, because of cost and everything else were way better than even now.
Yeah. At least one of those times I know on that 3-course menu, for lunch had our escargot on there.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they always have oysters because that's what they're known for is obviously they created Oysters Rockefeller, but they have about 6 other kinds that they have created also over the years that they're a little less known, but yeah, they'll put oysters on every single menu. So, I mean, to get that for that deal is great. And our issues now is so that menu is now changed to 2 courses and it's a set $26.
Yeah.
So, and it's not nearly as a opulent menu choice.
No, and again, like you're sort of screwed by you had this awesome deal for so long. You know how this is in any business. You have something that everyone comes to you for because you're known for it, and then something like COVID happens, changes the pricing structure of everything, costs of everything, and so now you're left with let's try to keep it in some form or fashion, but it's not going to be anything like it used to be. Which that's why it's sort of it's a bummer, really, because of just I guess I could say that about a lot of things since post-COVID. It's ruined a lot of things, and I don't really blame Antoine's because I have a business and I know what the costs are, so it's high.
Yeah. And that's what they had to adapt. And I really do wonder. I've never really found anything that talks about various phases of what the restaurant went through as the country had issues. I mean, obviously they went through the Civil War, through all that. May that had to affect them. It may not affect them negatively. I don't know. At that time, it may have been all right, but there was just massive financial disruption in the late 1800s. I mean, that's the reason it's called the Great Depression is because it was the greatest of the depressions. Our country just went back and forth with monetary issues, and then of course 2 world wars. And then just everything else in between. And this restaurant has gone through all of it. So I can't imagine that this is the first time they've gone through these kinds of issues where they've had to modify and think about it. I would love to know if they're trying to go back, like the plan is to eventually reestablish a lot of the things that they have given up. And one of them, as we've talked about with many of these restaurants, the tiered service, where you have multiple waiters. That's not how it is at lunch anymore. You still have 2, but you don't have the full the full regalia of waiters like you used to.
Yeah, well, two things what you just said. I mean, just as you're laying it out there. I mean, you say, okay, 1840, so now we're 2025, 185 years, right? You're like, okay. I mean, honestly, that's not you're way more on this side than you are that side of like the country's birth, of America. I mean, it's amazing when you start saying like what this has gone through with all the wars and all the history of America. It's funny, like I always joke with people like, well, I've talked to you about it too, but like people go to Europe and like they touch things that are like 1,000, 2,000 years old. Like it's nothing. And I'm like, man, if that was in America, it would be under bulletproof glass. But here our history is so short and we talk about it with such, like grandeur because, it is our place in our country. But like, man, to think that this place and that you eat at every time you're in New Orleans, that has sat through all the wars that we've heard about and just all the different eras of our country, man, it's amazing.
But you want to put it in historical context. So it's plausible that someone who was born during the Revolution, who could have been just old enough to remember the Revolution, could have gone and eaten at Antoine's when it opened. They would have been in their
70s,
like right around 70.
Yeah.
And certainly War of 1812, which was all about New Orleans. Certainly a lot of people would have been alive to that would have remembered that war.
And just the history is just crazy at this place. And we'll talk about some of the rooms and just what they have lining the rooms and stuff. But you mentioned the service, and like that is something else that was sort of pre-COVID, post-COVID. And that's all I can really say because I wasn't really there pre-Katrina. So what I'll say for pre-COVID, post-COVID at Antoine's was, yes, it was amazing to like the first few times I went there, you'd have your typical, like, I mean, it's opulence. It is. It's like you have the guy that takes the crumbs off the table. Then you have your water dude. Then you have your drinks server. Then you have your main server. Then you have the guy that delivers the meal that had nothing to do with anything up to that point. And it's like they all sort of were connected. There were so many together. And then a lot of them would be like, okay, hey, I just want to introduce you. This is my son and my grandson. We're 7th generation here at Antoine's or whatever. It was like crazy. I mean, you think like, oh, I work at the same place my dad did or my grandfather. No, this is like 100+ years at least of these guys working the same job, the same gig at the same company in this city. I mean, it's pretty amazing. I mean, you've heard those stories, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's in their own website and stuff. It talks about when you start. It does not matter who you are, as far as if you're one of those famous. Minimum 2 years of apprenticeship in the waiter program before you can be a head waiter. That's wow. Minimum. So you're sweeping crumbs and pouring water for 2 years before you even get a chance to think about moving up and being a head waiter.
So what from your life in the culinary world, did you ever have did you work at a place that had this level of like just that many trees of servers?
Oh yeah. That was the level that I was at in catering. I mean, we were cooking for presidents and royalty and everything else. So that was their expectation, was that it would be at that level. So that's why I always love going to those places, because I get to be on the other side of that, sure. That level of really just they're true professionals, and to see it done so flawlessly. And it's always the thing. We're talking about how many of them are, but the best of them, and they certainly at Antoine's are the best of them, you don't notice them. You don't realize that they're coming and going and that things are happening and everything else. It's just so well orchestrated. It's that's the whole point, is that while there's 5 people taking care of you, you have no idea that it's 5 of them.
No. The only reason you would is like you just noticing it because like someone like me who went there, I hadn't been served like that at all. So it's like nothing to compare it to. And you're just sort of like, you're counting because you're like, man, there's like so many people here. It is amazing. I mean, and you're right. The service, you might have a waiter that hangs around in Kansas City here for a restaurant for, I don't know, 20 years or something like that. And you may, I'm not saying that doesn't exist anywhere else, but down there, it's like, it is a bona fide, high paying sort of, I mean, I don't know what you'd call it, like sort of it's a good gig, you know. I mean, like, I don't think a lot of people think of servers as like a lifetime gig, you know. They think maybe it's a transitional thing or like a starter thing or something like that. Obviously, if you get a big steakhouse here, or expensive place here, you're going to get that some kind of like, I'm sure, like longevity. But down there, man, it is it's a whole world. And just New Orleans in general, not just Antoine's, but Antoine's is, like you said, one of the top ones where it's like I will see the same people there for 20, 30 straight years. It's crazy.
Oh yeah. And I know that I was talking to people about this 10 years ago down there who were on the waiters, wait staff side of this, that, even the top waiters, they made a comfortable 6-figure living.
Wow. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, you're going to down there. The meals are, if you're not going to get tipped heavy on the $20 lunch, but but most of these places down there, I mean, there's plenty of restaurants down there where you're probably having a long line of people that want to work there because it's some good money. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And the prestige of being able to say, if you did end up going somewhere else, that you were trained at Antoine's, like that writes its own resume.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I was talking to someone the other day, and we were discussing a couple people who say they were, oh, I was a sous chef under Paul Prudhomme, or I was a sous chef over Commanders. It's like, it's really hard. I mean, you could go around telling people that's outside the industry or anything that wouldn't know anything about it, but there is such prestige in some of these things that, there's a lot of fakers out there too.
Yes.
But, the Antoine's is named for a man named Antoine Alciatori. I think that's how you say his last name, Alciatori, but shortened obviously to just Antoine's. Founded in 1840. He was a French immigrant, and it has been run by someone in his family since it began, which it is the oldest running continuously family-run restaurant in the United States. And like you said, the amount of people that have gone through there in terms of dignitaries, or presidents, foreign royalties, celebrities. I mean, huge writers have gone there. I think a lot of places in New Orleans have, like, we discussed, like at the Napoleon House, they have a little nook back there for famous writers that sat there, or, the places have stories like that. But Antoine's, one of the best things I ever did there, and you were with me on one of these, is that we did the cocktail tour, which, if anyone likes New Orleans and hasn't been there a lot or hasn't seen a lot of the bars, cocktail tours is very fun down there. I mean, I don't know why I don't do them more. Like, I feel like the last one sort of burnt me because they went to like all like popular places, and I want more hole in the wall places that I've never been to before. I understand that's not the mainstream outlook of some of these tour guides. I get it. But we took that cocktail tour, and they took us to Antoine's, one of them, and they were able to sort of walk us through the entire place when it wasn't busy. I think it was between meals. And man, they took you to all the rooms. They take you to the wine cellar where you can look down that hallway where there's like 1 million bottles of wine. This is amazing. They take you to the rooms where they plan Mardi Gras. They take you to the rooms where this is where, President Bush ate, when he came in, or any president that's happened in the last 100 years. I mean, just the dining rooms that people like you and me eat in, they're lined with like 8x10s or 16x20 pictures of famous people who have autographed it, and just historical items that they've had for the last 200 years. And man, there's all sorts of corners where it's not just the pictures. There's all this other stuff that's just around that if you actually spend the time to look, when you head to the bathroom, you go down the hallway and you're reading, about some vase or something that was sent from somewhere, or just all sorts of things, and all the crowns and everything that are in there, and from all the parades and all that. That cocktail tour, and the difference, so some of our listeners are going to understand this a little better than others. The one we did with Joe, we got to do all the rooms, and he took us through and explained all the drinks, but he also was able to get us back to the kitchen briefly. I never saw that.
Yeah, the whole process of how the potato soufflés are made, the crispy little French fried potatoes. And Brian did an outstanding job. He just didn't have that level of access that Joe had, but Joe was a lifelong part of New Orleans, and he grew up there. His family was from there. He had a lot of connections. So, he built that level of insider knowledge.
Hey, I'm well aware that Brian is no Joe. Okay. I mean, and I've been told that by multiple people. I miss Joe, but I did see Brian, and I don't know if Brian's still there. He's probably catching a wave somewhere. But he did take us into all these rooms, including so they have, you know, they did a lot of like, you know, I guess sort of planning, right, of Mardi Gras, the parades, and so they have this like, you know, the building itself is this like massive maze-like building, and it has 14 dining rooms, including the Rex room, the Proteus room, other Mardi Gras crew rooms, decorated, like I said, like you said, photographs, crowns, memorabilia from all the famous carnival organizations. They plan carnival season there, which, you know, they have like, okay, this is last year's, you know, main person that's running. I forget the term they use, but they have pictures of everyone that has been the sort of the grand poobah of carnival season and the parade every year. And it's like, this is where it all goes down. I mean, obviously, if you've been, any person has heard of Mardi Gras, if you've gone there and seen just like how much power there is in being a part of that is unbelievable, you know, and this is like where they all plan it. And I think that's something cool that will always keep Antoine's obviously an important place.
Yes.
But
I apologize. Dropped something.
Fine.
Yeah. It was, it is great. And it's that they're all different, you know, and some of those rooms are not big. I mean, there may be 10 people, you know, to sit, you know, to 10 people to sit and then have all the wait staff, you know, moving around them and everything else. And then, you know, the bigger main dining rooms are not giant, but they are large dining rooms that would equal any size of any other restaurant around. And you don't realize how big that place is when you look at it from the outside.
No,
like you said, it's a maze.
It is. And every room has its own like personality, which is cool too. It's not like, you know, I love GW Finn's, but you walk in GW Finn's and it looks like a really fancy restaurant that I could be eating at in Leawood, Kansas. You know, it doesn't necessarily knock me over with like, this is steeped in New Orleans history. But if you walk into Antoine's when you first walk in, Peter, and you know where the hostess stand is there or whatever, it's like you're in a room there that I've never eaten at, and it's got like white linens, and it's sort of like more of a, I don't know, looks more like like a dim lighting, like you know, a little bit more formal to me in that room. And then but I've never eaten there. So they take you back to the middle rooms that I'm talking about, that's lined with all the autographed pictures and just celebrities that have been there. That's a little bit more laid back. It's louder in there. There's a couple rooms like that there. But like I said, when you keep walking through here, like some of these Mardi Gras carnival planning season rooms, I mean, they're like emerald bright green colors, you know, and then you walk down this hallway and there's stuff all adorning all the walls, and like all the rooms have their own personality. And things
are gilded with gold. You know, And when you say that room is emerald green, people are going to think, oh, it's painted emerald. No, it is emerald green. Oh, like it somehow even has the like it doesn't look like it's a gemstone, but it has that texture to it. Like it's insane. Like I don't even know how they did that.
Yeah.
And the other, like you're talking about the wine cellar, they've lost a tremendous amount of wine in Katrina. That was the one thing that got really damaged, was their wine cellar. And then you go back and you're like, they've built all that since. They've rebuilt all that wine since Katrina.
I'm reading about it. The wine cellar is said to hold 25,000 plus bottles. So I mean, and if there's that one, whatever, that hallway you get to go down where, you know, they have the gate there and you can look through the gate and you can see, and I think you can even see this from the street. Isn't there a place where you can like walk on the street and you can sort of see in like a little manhole or somewhere, you can down the hallway of this wine cellar, you can, I believe it's there, but like you can see just like, I mean, it's massive. It's unbelievable. And, I also reading about some of these rooms that are there, and I've never seen this. They call it the Mystery Room, which is a Prohibition era speakeasy disguised as a restroom passage. I've never been there. Never seen that.
No, that's on the extra secret tour.
I guess so. Joe didn't have that Joe probably could care less about going to that. But you know, like they are currently on the 5th generation now. The CEO is named Rick Blount. or Rick Blunt, however you pronounce it, Blount. I've seen it pronounced both ways. Rick is the fifth generation and the, grandson, one of the a grandson level descendant of the man himself that started it. So it's like, it's unbelievable, and you see that a lot. I mean, the Brennan stuff's like that too. Commander's Palace has been passed down to another daughter, and it's like, I don't know, man. It's funny. New Orleans, like every time I talk to people about New Orleans now, everyone's like, oh, just the food. I've heard it's great. I'm like, oh, it's like second to none. I mean, when you have like awesome restaurants in Kansas City, a kid might try to take it over, or they might try to sell it to somebody else if someone passes away. But most of the time it sort of just ends there. But I mean, just the royalty that is within the community of the huge restaurants in New Orleans is second to none. I don't know any other place like that. I'm sure it exists, but not to the degree of, how many there is in such a small amount of space there in the French Quarter. It's amazing.
Well, and that's because the food business is most generally of the owners, the restaurants, the all of the shops that sell food, the cooks, the wait staff, everybody, they are respected as professionals.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes all the difference. It is all the bartenders, certainly don't want to forget them. And it's all that you work your way up through those systems. It gets, it's even mentioned in Apocalypse Now. That's chef, was a saucier at Antoine's.
I'm sure it's been mentioned so many times like that in passing and stuff like that. I think the bar that's attached to it is the Hermes bar, and it opened in 2007. So that is a bar that I've been on a cocktail tour. I don't know if that was our entrance into with Brian, and then he took us within Antoine's at that point. That might have been it. I mean, I forget what the actual cocktail was that they, I know the cocktail tour, if you haven't been on one, it's like each place they take you to, they say, hey, their specialty is this, but you can get also this and this or whatever you want. Go ahead. They sort of steer you into trying something new. I don't remember what they did at the Hermes bar, but that is sort of if Antoine's is closed, or if you want just a taste of it, that's a good place to sort of duck into and see the same tiled floor and the same sort of look in there. You've been in there, right? That was part of it. I think it was part of our tour.
Yeah. And I love how you go from room to room, and it just keeps going and going, and they're all just so different, and they all have their own personalities. That I was looking at that menu, the lunch special, as we said, it's just 2 courses now, $26. So right now they're doing this sounds a little basically just as the main courses. It says buttermilk fried chicken breast, but it's brined in champagne.
I see that. So let's look at this. Okay, so what they used to have, like we said, was 3 courses, and it was the year, so $20.17 or whatever. It's 2017. So your first one was always, I think you get like a soup, then you could get like you could get char-grilled oysters, or maybe like they had like a trio of like one of each of their oysters that they made. Escargot was on there once. They had other salads, stuff like that. But I would always get the oysters because they were so great there. And we tried your escargot, which I thought was really good too.
Yeah.
Then your main course would be, some kind of Gulf fish almondine, or like even I remember I got that once. It was more of a dinner type course, like a seafood, maybe another oyster dish, maybe a shrimp dish, and then you would get your finale of dessert would be, a number of things. I don't remember exactly. It wasn't their baked Alaska, but it was other good desserts that they had there, and that was like very cheap. Now they don't have even oysters on their first course. They have a Creole tomato and corn salad, or turtle soup, or crawfish and artichoke gratinée.
Yeah, great.
And so like that, it's just different now,
Yeah, it's just it's a little less. It just means with cheese.
Okay, and so like you said, your second course, you get the chicken breast, which I'm sure is awesome, but the shrimp po' boy, and then the bronze swordfish Toulon.
Yeah,
and
so it's soup, stew, basically.
Okay. Which
They're
I'd probably
delicious.
get that. I'd probably
Yeah.
get that, to be honest. But that's a $3. That is a $3 upcharge, I think, on that one.
Yeah.
But whatever. You're eating at a really awesome place for under $30. That's fine. I'm not complaining about the price. I'm complaining that they have been forced to change it due to the damn prices of everything being so damn high. So, because I know this isn't what they want. So they had the Goldfish Almondine. They still have that on their classic favorites over there. I did not know, maybe I knew it once, but and you said it here earlier, but I guess I didn't realize that they were the creators of Oysters Rockefeller. It was made by
Egg Sardou.
Egg Sardou is another. I love Egg Sardou. I've had that several places. But Oysters Rockefeller invented in 1899 by Antoine's son Jules. So
Yeah, that was his big contribution to it.
If you haven't had it, it's a baked oyster topped with a rich green sauce of herbs and butter. And it says the exact recipe remains a closely guarded family secret. And the souffle potatoes, that's another thing that they do there that I guess they showed you how to make once, but that's a big deal for them too.
Yes. Yeah. And it takes days to make those because they cut them and they dry them and then they par fry them and then they dry them. I think again, they lay them all out again and then they fry them. I think it's a 2 to 3 day process to make those potatoes.
Wow.
Yeah, it is right. And as we're talking about things that's gone, so of course we keep referring to Katrina and COVID, but then 2022, the entire country goes through a 20% cost of living increase. So probably just as they were starting to catch up, like everyone else, all of a sudden prices went up again. So I'm surprised that it's even $26. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was 30. If they had said it was 30, I'd be like, okay,
sure. I mean, that's not the. I mean, obviously, when we were getting it for $20.17, we were like, this is a killer deal. I mean, but if you would have told me it was $27, I don't think anyone's like, we're not going there. No one's saying that. It was just an awesome deal, and their food was great, and their food is still good. It's not bad at all. It's a wonderful place to eat at.
Oh yeah, the quality's never diminished. It's just these small changes that make it less opulent, less very. And the crazy thing is, this is the iconic. As much as we've talked about Commanders and some of these other great restaurants, Antoine's is the iconic restaurant of New Orleans. It's the oldest. It's the biggest. It's everything. Yet it's a French restaurant. It is purely French.
So, and you love French restaurants, and there's so many. Obviously, the French influence down there is off the charts. So there's a lot of French. There's a lot of restaurants that have French meals, but I don't know if any of them have the French level of Antoine's.
Yeah, he was so French. He went home. He died in France.
Couldn't take it here.
Yeah. I think the last 5 or 6 years he was alive, he left his wife and kids stayed and ran the restaurant. And he went home and died in France.
I haven't seen the timeline of his life. When he started in 1840, I don't know how old he was, but as you said, going through the southern portion of the Civil War, I can only imagine that would probably drive someone to want to retire. I don't know. I'm sure Jules was like, he was handing Jules the keys and said, "Here, please take over."
I mean, just the embargoes and everything that would have been against them to deal with all of that. I mean, they would have been able to get the local things because they already were, the seafood and everything was still local. But like, I'm getting, they weren't going to be able to. They would have been blockaded for the wine and all that stuff. Who knows how I guess they would have to have been smuggling stuff through.
Yeah. It's an awesome place. You don't have to be super dressed up there. It's not like some of these other places that we've talked about. You can, I mean, you should, I don't know. I don't think they have any, I think they call it business casual. I've seen plenty of people in there not like wearing shorts and t-shirts and hats or whatever. So, but it still gives you that white jacket, server feel. So even if you dress that way, you might feel a little bad. But I think what's cool about it is you can get up at any point just to go to the restroom and you can walk around and just see how cool the place is. Like the only other place that I can really compare it to as far as just the maze-like atmosphere we've talked about is Commanders. because Commanders has like, different rooms, different, the garden room has like the huge windows, but then like some other areas are, they have a lot of personality in different rooms themselves. And it's interesting you say like Antoine's is the crown jewel because, historically and by date, it definitely is. But I don't know how many people would put it up there with like Commander's Palace. I don't know how many people would say what is the number one restaurant. And Antoine's is right there, it is in the discussion. I don't know. It just made me wonder, like, what would 100 people say? What would their answer be? I don't know.
I think it would vary widely, also based on the age of the person.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But I mean, you can't.
I'm reading through the 3-course dinner special, which they're $58. But this is much closer to what they used to serve as the lunch special. It would have just been a smaller portion. It's the Creole tomato and corn salad, turtle soup, or the crawfish and artichoke gratin for the first 3 courses, or for the first course. Second course, prime rib, scallops toulon, so that same thing, just scallops instead of swordfish, and then a soft shell crab amandine, which that sounds amazing.
I'd get that. Yeah.
And then, of course, then they added dessert back in. So it's tarte au pêche, which is peaches, so peach tart, key lime pie, and then a meringue glacé, which is the ice cream and meringue, and then probably a ton of dark chocolate all over it with almonds. So, and that basically would have been what we were getting for lunch.
It was. I mean, except they still take out. They tempt you with no oysters or no escargot, which sucks. Because those are so good there. We found plenty of places that Desire is another one that we love their char-grilled oysters, but man, they were so good at Antoine's, just so great. And I'm looking at their desserts. I think I know I've had creme brulee there, and I think we've had the cheesecake there. So and bread pudding. I'm pretty sure those are like 2 or the 3 maybe that they chose that you were able to choose. But if you've ever seen pictures of Antoine's on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, one of the things that they're known for is their house specialty, which is the baked Alaska. Which have you ever ordered baked Alaska? I've never had it.
I've ordered baked Alaska. I've had baked Alaska, and I have made a lot of baked Alaska.
Oh, it's probably it's old hat for you. It's so what is the prep time on that? Because you have to order it at the time that you order your. That's not something you just whip out in 2 seconds. So there's a little bit of time involved in that, right?
Yeah, because they'd be finishing so that the mold's made, and that's why I wasn't even a pastry chef, but they would be like, "We gotta make baked Alaska for 1,000 people," and you're like, "Oh crap, everybody's got to stay for that." I'm like, I'm Chef Garmager. I got a lot of other shit to worry about, but we'll get in there with the pastry team and help them out with scooping ice cream and baking cake. So it's layers of ice cream and cake, and we would make individual ones, so just a little, about the size of a baseball, and be usually 2 or 3 layers layered with cake in between. And that's the mold. And so, it's how many molds you have. You have to make it and freeze it and everything else. So they would hold that would be done. That's in a freezer somewhere. And so someone's made that. That's some little beginning chef. That's their job all day, is to scoop ice cream and make the base. And then at time of service, pastry chef is pulling that out, and they are whipping egg whites with sugar and then they're piping that onto that, and then they take a torch and they torch that so it gets, it's basically like a marshmallow. It gets all crispy and brown and beautiful and everything else, and then of course they bring that out to you at the table. So it's a gorgeous presentation. And
the meringue so I've seen Antoine's, they'll write, someone's like happy birthday in meringue or Antoine's or something, and they'll like sort of, highlight that a little bit with the torch, and it looks cool. I mean, it does look cool. But that is their specialty. If you're there, some places have the, of course, Brennan's has, several of the Brennan's places as a Banana Foster's, but it is definitely baked Alaska at Antoine's. So. And
you should have it at least once in your lifetime, especially if you like ice cream.
Oh, well, who doesn't? Like, if you don't like ice cream, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
So we talked about their cocktails are good. The bar on the side is the bar is just fun to go to and just see. It's a nice bar to begin with. But if you do order it, I don't know if they still have the it was like a rum punch. It was something like that. I forget what it was that they would serve, and it was like that was sort of the equivalent, I thought, of like what Commanders gave you for a very low price. And then I think they might have I think last time we were there it was sort of like unlimited sort of bubbling wine, sparkling wine, or like mimosas of some sort for the ladies if they, or whoever for who wants that. But you can imagine their wine list with the immense wine cellar they have. So I mean, it's just I'm talking myself into wanting to go there again next time.
Yeah,
I haven't been there in forever now.
Yeah, I'm ready. We've talked about it. We keep going back and forth. I'm like, I'm ready to go back.
I mean, at least for lunch. I mean, I think you said you want to try dinner there at some point, but I mean, lunch.
Or brunch.
It's an easy place to. I have found if you want to go online and like make a reservation for Antoine's, like a lot of times it says like not, can't take it or whatever. And I have always just walked in at Antoine's. It's such a massive place. I mean, the only thing they're limited by is how many servers they have working, but they have enough room for, half the city in there. So it's usually an easy walk in if you want to do that. And it's centrally located in the French Quarter too. I mean, it's down a side street on St. Louis Street. And, it's just, it's like I said, I'm wanting to go back now. We had several really fun meals there and haven't been there in a while, but I want to go back.
Yeah. I'm looking at the Hermes Bar drink menu and just a few, the Strawberry Fields is a Don Julio tequila, Grand Marnier, simple syrup, balsamic glaze, strawberries and lime. That sounds delicious. The blushing blueberries, Empress gin, lemon, mint, simple syrup, and blueberries. Then they got the classics, the Sazerac, the Hemingway daiquiri. I think that's one of them that was on that, the Hemingway daiquiri.
So the Hemingway daiquiri, it's got the rum, the lime, the grapefruit juice, but the Luxardo liqueur, I just know they're cherries. I didn't know they have a liqueur.
Oh yeah, that liqueur is outstanding. If you like Luxardo cherries, you'll like the liqueur.
Is it the same price? The cherries are lined in gold, so I didn't know what the liqueur tastes like, what it costs.
Yeah. You will pay for it if you've had it because you're like, this is amazing. I will pay just like the cherries. French gimlet, of course, Pimm's Cup, and then this is not an issue with Antoine. I'm going to bring it up because it's my issue with a lot of places. I'm not alone on this. I have an issue. So a lot of their cocktails are ranging right around $16. 15, $16. I appreciate that they are doing mocktails, which I did not know is a big issue with the young crowd because for some reason they've decided that they want to be fancy, but they don't want to drink alcohol. I have no idea. Like, I don't know. I guess
I told you why.
They want to smoke weed, right? That's the whole thing.
Well, one's weed. One is I've found this recently because they asked for mocktails at my establishment, and I got one of them to admit that when you're on a Ozempic type shot diet, you're not supposed to drink and or get drunk. So a lot of them don't want to drink now. So that helps, So and it sucks because. And I know what you're going to say, so continue because I agree with you already.
Well, I'll just say, just looking at they're very well done. It's the Midnight in Paris. It's cranberry juice, orgeat, ginger ale, and dehydrated rosebuds. That sounds delicious. It's fine. It doesn't have it. Summer Break, Sea Dip Citrus Garden, lemon and lime, pineapple juice. That's fine. They are $14.
14, 15. All of them are 15 except one. So here's my issue. And it's not an issue as a proprietor of a bar, so I'm okay with this. But who the hell is paying full price for no alcohol in a drink? I mean, are you really going to do that? I mean, I want you to come out and spend it. Please do. But my first thought when someone wanted me to do it was like, well, what am I supposed to charge? Like $2? Like, what am I supposed to? And they're like, no, it's like basically the same price as regular. Really? So I think that's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. I agree. That is ridiculous. And I don't understand that mentality. We can't even get into the wine. It's 25,000 bottles of wine.
Oh
you can't even touch it.
My wife will pick out. She's usually good. She won't take the most expensive unless she's hanging out with your wife, and then they'll just splurge. Yes. Please don't. But I'll tell you what. These drinks you're talking about, the actual ones with alcohol, that people should be drinking. They're $16. I just came from Las Vegas, and I know you've heard this bitching before, but a cheap drink in Las Vegas now is $25. That's on the strip, but still ridiculous. I mean, it's like, hey, happy hour, $24.99 for this margarita or a mojito or a old fashioned. I'm like, are you kidding me? So
I'm glad you brought it, because I was going to ask you about what your thoughts were on your trip to Vegas. Because it's good that people know that you go somewhere else besides New Orleans.
Yeah, I go to two places. I go to Vegas, New Orleans, and Branson. So those are the places I go.
No, and occasionally Florida,
and Florida sometimes. But no, anytime you want to think that first of all, I've never really thought. Now, I will say there's people that go to bars in Kansas City that will go to that drink. Let's call like Busch Light drinkers. Okay, so if Busch Light drinkers from Kansas City go to New Orleans, they will think that New Orleans is expensive. Because a beer there will cost like $10. And that is high for like a whatever it is, a pint of Busch Light equivalent type thing. But like I said, go to New York, go to Vegas, go to these other places. It's like, well, New Orleans is not. It's probably on the mid level pricing. Really, I mean, it's not high. It's not low, but it's not high, which is ridiculous. I get it, but Vegas is really expensive. And I shot you. In fact, I did. I sent you the picture of the menu.
Yeah. Everything was 24 and up.
Yeah, I think 24 was the bargain basement price, but I mean, ridiculous. And my dad, I was just having this discussion. I don't know why I'm going here, but I was having this discussion about steaks. And my dad, we went to a Bobby Flay steakhouse, and my dad got like a sirloin. He's like, every time I get sirloin, it always has a bunch of fat in it, because dad hates that. So who doesn't? So he opted for the $115 sirloin with no sides. Okay. Sides were a la carte. The side, like a potato's like $20, right? So, and dude, he was like, after he had that meal, he's like, never again. Like he's like half gristle, right? And it's amazing like how much these things cost. And like these people, they're, and you're sitting there talking about a 3-course meal for anywhere, like we've been saying, $20 to $58, whether there's dinner or lunch. And you start to realize that the quality and the price of New Orleans is really good. It really is.
Yes.
I mean, it has to be competitive, I know, because there's so many awesome restaurants in a small space. I mean, if you jump out $20 higher than everybody else, you will get customers still try you out, but you're not going to get the volume probably. But man, every time I go somewhere else, I'm reminded why New Orleans is the best. I do.
Yeah, and it's when you talk about value for dollar, there are a lot of great restaurants I've been to all over the world. Just folks on ones in this country. I've had some amazing meals at some amazing restaurants with great food, great service, great ambiance, great drinks, all that stuff. Many of them here in the city, but there's just something about the total package of how you're dealt with in New Orleans. And again, it goes back to so many of those people are lifetime professionals doing this. So the bartender who's making your drink, he doesn't have to look anything up. He knows it all because he has squeezed all those juices by hand. He has made all those, there's 20 different simple syrups that have different flavors, and they cooked them all that morning. They're hand selecting all of what they're going to serve. They know that wine list, all those things. That waiter has spent, years moving up to that position, and the guys coming up under him are learning all those things. And those cooks spend that long training also. Just, they're like, I'm not joking. Someone may spend a year learning to make baked Alaska. That's one job that they'll know. Yeah.
No, I mean, like you told me, I always laugh because every time we do our gumbo fest at our place here, you'll be like, when I'm the quote unquote roux bitch, I'm stirring the roux for like 4 hours. You're like, that's what just someone does every day in New Orleans for like hours, or wherever. And yep. I'm like, this is their job. It's amazing. You start from the bottom and go up. And like, that is stuff that you just don't see everywhere else. You don't. And New Orleans, like you talk about, like contrasting it to Vegas. It's like Vegas is all sizzle. It's all marketing. It's all celebrity BS. Nashville's getting that way too. There's a lot of places like that. But what I always tell everybody about New Orleans is they may be owned by, multi-million dollar corporations that you don't know about, that some shell company is, who knows? I'm so cynical. I don't know who owns everything now, but it is, you believe and you're treated, and it seems like everything is mom and pop there for the very most part.
Yes.
And it's like, and so it's just out of like pure, like decades, centuries of learning and getting better, and like just being in the same place and like serving so many people, whether it's Antoine's to Dookie Chase to all these places that is just like family run forever. And it's like you these places that are like Vegas, that is just shiny sizzle, no substance. They wish as they had that, and they could sell their stuff for a really high price, but at the end of the day, you're not fulfilled with your $200 meal there like you would be here. So it's
No.
not.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is our review for Antoine's Restaurant. Since 1840. I mean, it's been there before the Civil War. Come on, this is amazing. You need to go down there. Antoines.com. Check it out. I'm looking at their gift shop now. I might have to buy one of their hats. But they have like, it's just especially if you've never been there. One of my friends was there when we were there over New Year's, and her and her husband and family were there. And they ate like the corner window at Antoine's because they had always heard about it. And she had told me, like, everyone told me I need to try Antoine's because that is the street level cred that they have there. And they went and enjoyed like their anniversary dinner there and just were beaming about it the next day. And I know if you as we've discussed, like comparing it to other eras, like if you're just going in there blindly right now, you would be like we were the very first time. You would be. It would be an awesome experience, and I think that's what everybody would have if they go down there. So, check it out if you're there. And thanks, Peter, for. We almost didn't have the podcast today because I had spent the day with the family, and you happily reminded me. So.
Yeah. But they paint the room, so with my lovely wife. So. Wind things out. But go to Antoine's. Go treat yourself. Go treat yourself. Go down to New Orleans. Have a great time and treat yourself at Antoine's.
Yeah. Awesome place. One of the best ever. Anyway, for Peter, I am Chris. Thanks for listening to this episode of NOLA Outsider. We'll be back next time with another review or a thought about an awesome place of experience that you can have anytime down in New Orleans. See you next time.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the NOLA Outsider podcast. We'd love to hear about your experiences in the greatest city in the world. Email us at outsidanola@gmail.com. Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/NOLA Outsider or visit NOLAoutsider.com. See you next time on NOLA Outsider.